Hi, welcome back to CS 170. I'm just here to cover off on pivot tables. I'm gonna go over here to modules so you can see where we can download the sheet that we're working with. Okay, so here under the resources, you remember I put a couple of different things to do some lookups on the Excel functions. I can add a couple more things for pivot tables and whatnot. But if you look in the Excel resources, there's also links for spreadsheet resources. There's also links for pivot tables. So pivot table is an important concept here. So make sure you keep that in mind, refer to those things. You can look here. I put some example sheets here that you can work with. Try different things like formatting, conditionals and whatnot. I've also passed these over to your TA, so your TA should be able to use these along with some teaching guides to review different examples of different things you can do with Excel. But in case your TA doesn't cover it, let me know. I can go through a couple more things on these sheets. But the sheet that we're using here for this lecture is this SSS4 vegetables empty, the XLS. So you can take a look at that. I've pulled it up over here. Okay. And here's pivot tables. I've already uploaded this onto Lao Lectures, so you can also take that. Okay. So let's take a look at what we have here. Let me make this bigger here. Okay. So, you probably see it just from like some of the stuff that we've been doing is like Excel is meant to cover analysis for a decent amount of data. Not like ginormous amounts of data, but probably a decent amount of data that will cover what you probably will be working on. So this will be a typical thing, right? So you have different items and it will be like, in this case, it looks like fruits and stuff like that, pineapple and whatnot. Category, it's plants and roses and whatnot. Your wholesale price, your profit and all that kind of stuff. Like just basically different information, right? And the point here is just, making sure the data is like relatively clean, right? And that helps it in terms of you trying to define this as a table and working with it. So I'll just read through it quickly. So you have, make sure there's no blank rows, there's no blank columns, don't have like little calculations in here like these subtotals, and make sure like these names for the columns are going to be unique, and make sure you only have the one title to a row. Okay. There's like a concept of merge, and I don't remember if I did the merge with you guys, but I'll show that to you in a second. So here we have this vegetable spreadsheet, which I just pulled up here, and we're going to work with this in a second. And this is like a pivot table with a little bit of extra resource. You can take a look at pivot tables. Okay, and it's basically just a way for you to slice and dice the data, group it, filter it, whatever. And I'll show that to you in a second. And then once you've done that, you can also put like a chart on top of it. Okay. So I'm going to do all of this for you in just a second. And we can go to this. So let me let me minimize this at least. Put this over to here. I'll close this guy up here. Let me just do the merge for you for a second. I forgot whether I covered this in a prior lecture or not. But sometimes you have something where you have like box 1 and box 2. And you might say, okay, let's merge these guys into one thing. So let me move this over. Okay. And can see what happened here. Now you've made basically, it's almost like you remember in HTML when you can do the tables you can span. That's kind of what this is, right? So you can pretend this is like call 1, call 2, and then this is kind of like covering both, right? And then you have these two underneath here, okay? So hopefully that was clear. So that could be like kind of a formatting thing you can look at in terms of merge, right? There's different ways to merge. Let me unmerge this guy here. Doesn't matter, I'm going to throw this away anyway. So, and I'll clear these contents out. So let's go back to here, and I'm going to highlight all of these guys here. Actually, I shouldn't have done that. I should do an insert pivot table first. Insert pivot table. So it brings up this little thing to present a pivot table. Let me say, now I'm going to select this range here. Oops. Okay. Now notice it's referring to worksheet. Okay. So you know, well, I hope you know that you can do multiple worksheets here, right? So here it just happens that this is worksheet. That's the name of it. So it's worksheet, and then within that, then you can put in like this range here, right? So A1 to E101, right? So this is E101, so that defines the whole thing. So it's almost like 3 dimensions, right? So worksheet is 1 dimension, then you have like your rows here, and then your columns, right? So your rows is 1 dimension, that's another dimension, and then you have a dimension for worksheet. So it's like 3 dimensions here. Now, let's take this pivot table and insert it into a new worksheet, which they call sheet 3. Okay, I could just say pivot or something. Okay, so this allows you to be able to go from one worksheet to another worksheet. You can reference it. So it's not just like I'm here and I can say like, you know, A1 to get to product, or A2 to get to bananas, right? Now you can put like the name of the worksheet. Let's say I want to go from here and access this. It will be like worksheet, and then you have exclamation, and then you can put in your rows and columns. Okay. All right. So anyway, let's go back to here. I'm gonna go like this so I can see them side by side. And let me see. So we want to do a product, amount, and country, and they want to do a country filter and product. Okay, so let's see. So we want country, and we want to be able to do a filter on it. So that's where filter is. So you can be able to select on country over here, and we want to do product. Okay, and then we want to do an amount. So you see it's all drag and drop, right? So I'm basically summing for all of these guys here. So you have all these apples, bananas, whatever, and then you have a sum of that, and then I can do a filter by country, right? And that should match up to what's on the PowerPoint here. And you can do exactly what I just did at home. Obviously, you can just take this sheet and do the same thing, and you get exactly what I just got here. Okay, and you know I'm here. Actually, let me make this bigger so it looks better for you guys. Let's make this 150. Okay, hopefully that's a little bit better. Okay, so here we got all, right? But let's do Canada. Okay, so it just basically slices this to be just for Canada. So that's what it looks like for Canada. That's for France. Let's do USA. That's for USA, right? Let me kick this back up to the all. So this is for all countries. these are all the different fruits and stuff, okay? And then these are the numbers that we have here, okay? So hopefully that makes sense. And yeah, you know, filter, right? So I could have filtered by, let's say, fruit, and then I could have put the countries down here too. You can play around with that on your own. Try that out. Try to drag this down and put this up the other way. You can switch it around. Your summing thing, so definitely amount is the right thing to put in here. You can, sum, in case you don't know, sigma means sum, right? So put that there. Let's see. Okay. So can you sort it? Yeah, you can sort it, right? So you hear, this is almost like when you do the data on the tables. So you can do sorting here. I just said data. Let me come back to here just so you see what I'm talking about here. I'm going to do this, and then I'm going to do data and this. Okay, so in a similar way, it's kind of very similar, right? So you basically, it takes all of these titles as basically your column titles here, and you look at this, right? I can do the same thing. I can do sorting, right? I can do some filtering like that, okay? In fact, let me do that right now. So let me do Canada. And you can see it took Canada, and then it just took all of these. And you can see it really is doing a filter, right? Because you can see it's column, it's row 6, 10, 11, 12, stuff like that. So I guess all I'm showing you here is that there's multiple ways to look at this as sort of like a database, doing some filtering, doing you know, sorting and whatnot. You can do all kinds of stuff in similar ways. So doing a pivot table is not the only way, but it's a very popular way. But I just did this with data here, filter. Right, and you can do sorting and whatnot here. So it's multiple ways. I suggest you play around with it. Okay, and so we have this pivot table here, and we just did a sort. Let's see what else can we do here. I mean, I showed you doing the filter just a second ago. Okay, okay, yeah. So this is good. So you can change this. So we've been doing some, but it could be doing something else too. So you can do a count, let's say. Um, okay. Oops, what did I just do there? Oops, went into something else here. Okay. So this is basically giving you like the count that went into that sum for all of these here. And you can look at the count of amount here. I can do the same thing over here. Let's do the max here. Okay, so it's the max amount. What else can we do here? Just go back to sum, I guess. Yeah, so basically you can do different types of things here, and you could have done the same thing back to here also. You remember we were playing around with the different functions to do count if, right? So if we did a count if banana or something like that, you would get the total count for your bananas, let's say. Okay, so changing the summary to be Which one is it changing to? I think it's just taking it to the count. Let me see. Doesn't look like the count. Well, actually, I should sort this. I wonder why they. Oh, is it because of the type in here? Or the category, I should say. Apples. Okay. Anyway, I think this should be correct in terms of the sorting. I don't know why this sorting has the oranges and apples down there. But yeah, this is sorting, and I think my sorting looks correct. So I'm not really sure why this sorting is the way it is. But anyway, it is the count here. Okay. So we can do another type of pivot. Let's see what they want to pivot here. So they want to do the country and doing the bananas across the column. So let's take this out of here. I'm going to put this over to here and put the country down to here. And let me change this back to sum. And there we go. All right. So basically we set it up so that you have your countries over here on the left side. And then we have like the apples, bananas, and whatnot coming across the top. So you can see before we basically included all the countries. Now you kind of have a different level of view to see like per country the number of apples, bananas, and whatnot across. So it's just a different way to slice it. You get more detail based on this. Okay. And then you can do some graph off of this. So let's see what we can do here. Oops, here we go. Just move this down a little bit. Okay, so you see pretty much it comes up like here on the PowerPoint. And we did this graph from before, right? So you have your table here, or your key actually over here. And then you have your cluster here by country. Okay, and let me see here. See if any of this looks a little bit better or not. Yeah. Things like a lot of products here, so I'm not really sure that this really looks good no matter which one of these you want to put in here. Maybe this will look better if I just do apples, bananas, and beans, let's say. Yeah, I think that things looks better when you don't have so many different fruits and stuff. I don't like the grid lines. Take out the grid lines. Don't need to have that. Okay. All right. Just my take on this. This kind of looks okay. Not too noisy. Different countries, just a few different categories here, and you can filter and set to whatever categories you want here. Okay. All right. Well, yeah, I just did this. Okay. So remember for pie charts, it's kind of something where it's like, in this case, apples. You kind of have the one thing, and then you can slice it up into different pie slices, which is in this case the different countries. So let's see if we can do something similar. So I'm gonna do that, and then insert, and then I'm gonna do a pie chart like that, and I kind of like it more like that. And there you go. Drag that too fast. Oops, messing around with this guy. There we go. I hate it when I do that. Here. There. Okay, so just remember, I think I mentioned this in another video. It's basically like the best time you do a pie chart is exactly like this type of situation where you have like a pool of stuff, in this case apples, and then you're just going to divide it into these little pie slices across the countries. And then whatever it sums up to, it sums up to. And you have all these different things here. I kind of would prefer this with some numbers here, probably. Maybe this looks okay. Something like that, maybe. Okay. And of course, you have the filtering, which I showed you before. You have the sorting, which we did before. And then here's some questions here. Okay. So I'm going to leave this as extra credit for you guys. I know you have an exam coming up tomorrow, so just take your time. You can go and do this over the weekend maybe. And you can play around with it. You can just show me like how you came up with these. Just do your pivot and then maybe take a screenshot of it, and you can do like a little red circle just to show you, show me how you answered these questions using the pivot table. Okay? All right, good luck with the exam, and I'm going to cut a video for Excel tables probably after the exam. Okay, thank you.